The remaining piece of the box model we have yet to cover is margin. So margin is the space outside of an element's border, between that element and something else, other elements. So padding is the spacing on the inside of the border, margin is the spacing on the outside. And just like padding, we have the 4 individual properties, margin left, margin right, top and bottom, and we have the shorthand margin property, which works exactly the same way as the shorthand padding. In terms of the syntax, we can provide one value to apply it to all 4 sides. We can apply 4 separate ones. It goes clockwise, so top right, bottom left. We have 2 and 3. It's just margin instead of padding. So if we take a look at some examples, I'm on MDN, we can find margin all over the place. You may not see it right away, but if you inspect and you just get that little, where are you? There we go, click that, and we start to hover. Anytime you see orange, so there's a little bit right there, or how about further down, right there, that orange is margin. So it looks like this element, is it this H, what are you, an H2? It has margin on top, a significant margin, 60 pixels to add some spacing there. So that space is not on the inside of this border. I think this is a top border. Yes, it is. As you can see right there, border top. So the spacing is on the outside between that border and other elements, which what comes next, that div right there. So that's margin, just one example. In the Chrome DevTools, it shows up as orange. You can also see it here, the little box model DevTools. You can play around with it. I believe you can edit it too. If you wanted more margin on this thing, how about 200 pixels? There we go, a lot more space. So let's play around with it on our elements. Let's pick one of these, perhaps. Well, why don't we start with this H1 actually? I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. These elements don't have any spacing between them. They're just divs. But this H1, by default, it actually gets margin. Just like by default, an H1 has a larger font size and it's bolded, it also has margin. So I can remove that. If I just set margin bottom to be 0, if I only want to remove that bottom margin, margin bottom 0, and refresh, and now there's no spacing there. Now we also have margin over here and up top, so I could use the shorthand property of just margin 0. Now we set all 4 sides to 0. Now that still has some space. Where's that space coming from? Well, this is actually something we just haven't gotten to yet, but by default, your body element has some spacing. It has some margin associated with it. It looks like it is 8 pixels by default, but I can set that to be 0. And that's what a lot of people do when they begin a new web page, is set margin to be 0, so that we don't get that extra space and our content goes all the way across. There we go. Now you may not want that all the time. Sometimes you want a margin on your body, but a lot of the time it's useful to get rid of it first, and then you can add in your margin when needed. Otherwise you have that mystery space. Okay, so I got rid of all margin here. Let's now add margin onto this element, which is our, the ID of 1. So I'm going to start with maybe margin left, just as a demo. How about 50 pixels? And it moves over 50 pixels. It has that margin of 50 pixels. Okay, now we also have top, left, right, and bottom. Let's just pick one of them. Margin, how about top? Will be, actually, how about bottom? Margin bottom will be another 50 pixels maybe, or 100 pixels. And we get all of that space right there. Okay. Then we also have the shorthand version, which we can use to add margin on all sides at once in a single property. So let's pick maybe our second element here and just set margin to be, how about 200 pixels? Very obvious. That will add 200 pixels of margin, top, right, bottom, and left at the same time. And there we go. You can see we get a lot of margin there. I think that's honestly all I need to show you for now. There is more to be discussed, specifically around, I'll just show you an example. If I have, within this H1, I have a span. Hello, what should I put in here? Maybe a happy face to start. And if I wanted to style this happy face to have some margin, well, first of all, you can see that I've exceeded the width I set. So how about 200 pixels wide for that H1? Okay, so if I wanted to I don't know, maybe move this thing over to the right, you might think, oh, just select the span and set margin left to be, let's just go with maybe 30 pixels. And that should do it, right? And it does do it. But then what if I wanted to move it down? So I'll set margin top to be 30 pixels. Nothing happens. Why is it not moving up or down? That's something we're going to cover in the next video. We need to talk about a very important property called display. So margin, just to wrap this up, is the space between the outside of an element and other elements. Between the border, even if that border is not visible, there's always a border sort of present in the model. So margin is that space between elements. Padding is between the border on the inside of an element and its content area, and then width and height will control that content area unless we play around with that property that we saw earlier, which is box sizing. We can set it to be border box, and then width and height will actually govern the entire total width and height, and border and padding will be subtracted from that. But with what we've been doing so far, and by default, width and height control this grayed out area. Okay.